Stocks are oscillating in a range ahead of the FNO expiry today on NSE. Metals and IT eke out some gains while consumer durables, Realty and FMCG are the big drags. The Nifty Bank is supporting the Nifty in today's session.
Donald Trump fires a fresh tariff salvo targeting movies and furniture imports, while foreign movies will be tariffed at 100%. Upholstered wood items will attract a 25% levy. The Indian film industry may only be marginally impacted, say analysts.
The Reserve Bank of India is likely to take a pause on interest rates and its stance, even as the GST rate cut could see it revising its GDP growth and lowering GDP growth forecast higher and inflation forecast lower. A dovish tone may, however, keep the door open for future rate cuts.
Gold scales to a new high of $3,870 per ounce on Tuesday, clocking gains of 46% for the year and setting up for its best monthly gain in 14 years. A likely US government shutdown and hope of further Fed rate cuts keeps the bulls upbeat.
It's a very important final couple of hours that beckon for our own markets. You're watching Business Lunch. We are coming to you live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Hormus Fatakia. With me is Vamakshi Dhoria. It's a very important last couple of hours for Vamakshi as well. We'll tell you more about that as the show comes to an end. But Vamakshi, good afternoon. The monthly expiry today, proper expiry session playing out. But the bulls would be hoping that A, today's lows are not tested, and 2, we finally see some green at the close of trade.
Of course, Hormus, over the last couple of sessions, what we've seen, like you pointed out yesterday as well, the trend of lower lows, and that trend again still continues today as well. Of course, we've seen some bounce back for the Nifty from the day's lowest point. It slipped below that 24,600 mark, but we've seen a good recovery of almost 60 odd points from the day's low. So at least that bodes well for the benchmark index. As far as the broader markets are concerned, the advanced decline ratio is 1:1. So, not much happening there as well. The mid-cap index for now is down almost 0.2% and is underperforming what the benchmark index is doing. Now, let's take a look at some of the sectoral movers as well. Ahead of the RBI's decision, we do have the PSU bank that is perking up in trade. PNB is up almost 3.5%, and so is Bank of India trading with a gain of over 3%. Canara Bank too upbeat in trade today. But what's not doing well is the media index, and we're seeing sharp fall come in on Nazara Technologies. That stock is down almost 3% in today's trading session. PVR Inox too taking a knock in today's trading session, and Tips Music, Sun TV, and the likes of all of those counters down in trade after the Trump's announcement of 100% tariffs on film. So that is how broadly the sectors are moving, Hormus.
No, indeed, and that's the case, right? And the Nifty is been that big talking point, right? 24,593 was the intraday low that the index has made. That the bulls will be hoping that first we don't go to those levels in the second half of the trading session, and B, the fact that excuse me, the fact that we come out of this range. We've been in a very narrow range over the last couple of sessions. Even today, we've been in this 130, 140 point range all through the trading session as well. But there has been a lot of stock specific activity in the broader markets, and of course, news flow driven names as well. You take a look at Tata Investments. Tata Investments has now crossed the 10,000 rupees mark. It's at a record high, and it is now up almost 45% in the month of September. Now, at a time when all of these Tata Group stocks are underperforming, TCS at 52-week lows, Titan not doing well despite gold prices being at record highs, Tata Investment has been in a league of its own, and it continues to move higher. It's up almost 45% in the month of September itself. Of course, the record date for its stock split is the 14th of October. So you're seeing some buying interest, and of course, the anticipation of the Tata Capital IPO as well. But since we are on the subject of Tata Group stocks, Tata Motors continues to grab the headlines, and as has been the case over the last few trading sessions, it came out with an update. It held an analyst meet yesterday, and there they came out with a clarification saying that JLR is going to resume production in a phased manner. Now, that is something that they've been saying consistently, that they will resume production in a phased manner. They have not shared a definitive timeline as to when that happens, because tomorrow is the date which is when the production pause is extended till, as per their last official communication for Tata, for JLR, and since then there has been no communication as to when production will resume. Now they also went on to say on the demand front that sales have restarted, the spares and servicing is started to ramp up, but on the demand front they mentioned that the demand remains challenging for JLR in the near term, be it in the Chinese markets, Russian markets, or in the US markets itself. The other major trigger for Tata Motors tomorrow is the fact that tomorrow is the effective date for its demerger, the demerger of its commercial vehicle business. They also mentioned that it is on track. The NCLT approval has been received. The effective date is tomorrow, but the record date, subject to approval from the registrar of companies, will be sometime mid-October, and after which, a day after the record date, the stock will start trading its commercial vehicles business, and it will begin trading as with a different name, and the commercial it will be renamed as Tata Motors Passenger Vehicles Limited, is TMPVL, and the commercial vehicles business will have a mid-November listing and sometime during that month, and it will list as Tata Motors Limited. So that is what they have mentioned about the demerger, tomorrow being the effective date. And on the PV demand front also, they mentioned the fact that there is strong uptick that they have seen in the passenger vehicle bookings starting from the 5th of September. They have outpaced the industry growth. They are expecting mid-single digit growth in the industry over the second half of the year as well. So commentary coming in from Tata Motors, but Jefferies in its note has mentioned that although they are optimistic on the passenger vehicle segment, they are not very convinced about the Iveco acquisition that they have done, and also improvement in the margins of the passenger vehicles business. So that is something key that is keeping them underweight on Tata Motors, and they have a 575 rupee price target on the stock. So that's Tata Motors for you, not doing much today, but all eyes will be tomorrow because a lot of triggers are looking to fall into place here.
Absolutely, Hormas. Tata Motors, the past, I think 1 or 2 weeks has been in coming up with new headlines every single day. So definitely one stock that we'll be watching out for. But Hormas, the other, important story is the number of listings that we're seeing, right? In the trading session, we've got at least 4 companies that listed today itself, and many more IPOs. So, a lot of supply for paper coming in, and if you can just take us through how the listings did exactly. Anand Rathi is doing quite well, it's up almost 7.5%, while on the other hand the other 3 listings, they were not as great, Hormas.
The one major takeaway that you have had from the listings of today, we had 4 listings, and the one major takeaway is the fact that even if your IPOs have seen healthy subscription, there is no guarantee that your listings will be as good. Of course, market sentiment has a lot to do with it, but you take a look at this, Anand Rathi and a lot of these companies listed at or around their IPO price in today's session, and look at their IPO subscriptions as well. Now for IPOs of their size, anywhere between 450 to almost 800-900 crore, subscription figures of anywhere between 15 times to as high as 68 times for Sesha Sai is fairly healthy. You could call it that, and especially considering the fact that all of these 4 IPOs were open simultaneously, and yet they have received healthy demand. So that is one. That was the one aspect that you need to pay attention to. But if you take a look at the listing price today, Anand Rathi listed 4% above its listing price. Solar World listed 11% above its listing price. Jaro Tech listed exactly at its listing price. But barring Anand Rathi, now all of the other 3 have now fallen below their IPO price. And of course, it is initial days, it's the first day of trading. Almost always, there is no guarantee that just because you listed at a discount, you will not do well going forward. Angel One being a case in point, the IPO listed at a discount and then it went on to do wonders over the next few years. But in today's session, considering the rush of IPOs that you are seeing, there is one thing very clear, that just because you have had a healthy IPO subscription, there is no guarantee that you will have a proper healthy listing as well.
Absolutely, important to note, and very interesting observations out there, Hormas. But on that note, let's actually slip into a very short break. Up next, we get you updates from the White House in our special segment, Trump Watch. So stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. Now getting you the latest on Trump-related developments, we have Dia joining us in our special segment, Trump Watch.
We begin with a high-stakes announcement out of Washington. President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have unveiled a 20-point plan aimed at ending the war in Gaza. Now, the framework includes a phased withdrawal of Israeli forces from the enclave. Trump said the plan has backing from other West Asian and Muslim-majority leaders, though questions remain over Hamas's role. The Palestinian Authority welcomed what it called Trump's sincere and determined efforts following the announcement. But Prime Minister Netanyahu made it clear Israel will not walk away entirely. He said Israel would retain security responsibility in Gaza and vow to finish the job of destroying Hamas if the group rejects the US-backed deal. Meanwhile, Trump is turning to trade. On Monday, he imposed fresh tariffs to support the US film and furniture industries. Trump said any country not producing its furniture in the US would face substantial tariffs. He also imposed a 100% tariff on all foreign-made films. Now, the tariffs on kitchen cabinets announced earlier and the newly announced tariffs on furniture will come into effect on October 14, White House stated. And in yet another attack on Harvard University, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has recommended the university be excluded from federal funding. Now, this comes after the Office for Civil Rights in July referred the school to the U.S. Department of Justice to address allegations it failed to address discrimination and harassment against Jewish and Israeli students on its campus. That's all for today. Now back to you.
Dia, thank you for that update. Now, for more on the US President's Gaza peace proposal, let's watch this next report.
At least we're at a minimum very, very close, and I think we're beyond very close.
U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had agreed to back a U.S.-sponsored Gaza peace deal. The agreement includes a ceasefire of the two-year-old war in Gaza and the release of hostages held by Hamas.
If accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours.
An official with Hamas said after the announcement that it has not received the written plan.
I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
Netanyahu made his fourth visit to the White House since Trump returned to office in January. The right-wing Israeli leader was looking to shore up his country's most important relationship after a slew of Western leaders formally embraced Palestinian statehood last week in defiance of the U.S. and Israel. Trump, who sharply criticized the moves as a prize for Hamas, was seeking Netanyahu's agreement despite Israel's misgivings on parts of the plan. Washington presented its peace plan to Arab and Muslim states on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly last week. Trump's 20-point plan includes a staged Israeli withdrawal from the Palestinian enclave, Hamas disarmament, and a transition government led by an international body headed by Trump. The White House talks came as Israeli tanks on Monday thrust deeper into the heart of Gaza City. Israel has launched one of its biggest offensives of the war this month, with Netanyahu saying he aims to wipe out Hamas in its final redoubts. The war has left much of Gaza in ruins and caused a major humanitarian crisis.
All right, on that note, let's slip into a very short break for now. More news and updates follow on the other side, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Let's bring you some updates on the monsoon front. We now have Manisha joining us for the monsoon update. Manisha.
Let me tell you that this is the most important season for agriculture, for farmers as well, because 70% of Indian rain happens between June to September. Now, interestingly, officially the monsoon ends on 30th of September, and I'm assuming that date is going to be changed very soon in coming few years, because this time around as well, we saw the onset of monsoon delayed, and that is the reason the outgoing or the exit of monsoon also is going to be slightly delayed in that sense. But we do follow 1st January to 30th of September. Today is 30th of September. Officially, monsoon ends today. The dates I have is until 29th of September. So all India is 8% in excess, 108% of long period average. And that's exactly the number that IMD had put out in their revised forecast. So that's exactly what we are standing at right now. The only concern has been in the east and northeast. That is where we have seen deficiency of 20%. But apart from that, it has been a good monsoon across other states. Northwest, 27% higher. Central India, 15%. And the southern peninsula also is ending with 10% of excess rains for this season here. Now look at the deficient rains here, and that basically was in Arunachal Pradesh, minus 41%, and then you had Bihar as well with 31% of a decline in overall rains. But the excess states are quite a bit. You have Rajasthan with 60% more rain, Punjab 42%, and then you had 40%, 39 to 40 for Himachal and Marathwada as well. Maharashtra, of course, has been a bit of a concern with various areas in mid-Maharashtra as well. Now, interestingly, when you look at the monsoon this time around, all 4 months were excess monsoon months. So we started with June, and that was 9% above average. You had 5% above average for the months of July and August, and September until now has been 15% more than average. So the mean median of that is 8% or above excess. So 108% is how we get that. Now, when you look at the monsoon in last many years, 94% was in 2023, which is normal or below normal. But apart from that, the last 5 years in that sense have given you above normal monsoon. So it has been great going when it comes to the Indian markets there. Now, above average monsoon in all 4 months is quite a rarity, by the way. 2025 is one such year where you have above normal monsoon every month of this season. And the last time you saw that was in 2007, and then it was in 1975. And then 1961, 1956. So since 1950, if you start looking at data from 1950 onwards, it has been only these years that have seen average, above average monsoon in all of those months. Interestingly, now when you look at Mumbai and monsoons, IMD has moved dates that happened last couple of years itself, that the withdrawal date was shifted from 29th September to 8th of October. But this time around, in this year, IMD says that monsoon withdrawal from Mumbai would happen on 15th of October. Apart from that, when you look at the September rains itself, well, average really is at around 341 mm. For the month of September this year, Mumbai has seen 607. So we're looking at really high, almost double of monsoon that we usually get in Mumbai. Now, what's coming is even more interesting because you have more low-pressure areas being formed all over Bay of Bengal, and that would bring more rains into Mumbai, Konkan, Gujarat, and some parts of Maharashtra. This would be between 4th to 6th October. So is the monsoon withdrawing? No, it's not. It's exactly what I told you. Another very important thing to note out going forward is that La Nina is setting, and it is setting during October to December period. Now, what does it mean for India? Remember, La Nina means different things for different countries. But for India, it means stronger monsoon. So October to December, those winter rains that we talk about are going to be stronger this time around. And the other thing is colder, harsher winters is something that India could be prepared for as well, is what we're looking at now between October to Jan. Actually, there are some reports which suggest that Jan 2026 could be one of the harshest winters that many parts of India perhaps would be looking at.
Manisha, thank you for that update. Well, we mentioned to you at the start of the show that it's a very important day for Vamakshi as well, not just for the Nifty monthly expiry, but she takes our leave from CNBC-TV18 today. And Vamakshi, it was an absolute delight to share the studio with you on Business Lunch and on various other shows as well. So thank you for being a part of the journey, and I'll leave the final word to you today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Hormaz. I remember anchoring my first show with you, and as I anchor my last show with you, I think life has come full circle. Of course, you know, a big thank you to everyone for giving me this opportunity. You know, all the teams. I mean, I think I would run out of words. So it's been a great pleasure being out here at CNBC. But you know, it's been a family. So I wouldn't say goodbye. I'll say aujo. I'll see you around, and hopefully, you know, we'll connect with all of you. But with that, that's all the action we have on this edition of Business Lunch. Don't go anywhere. Midcap Radar comes up next.